Welcome back to the Mill Playbook, gentlemen. Today, we're going to talk about something that's going to get some attention, maybe stir up a little controversy. Hopefully you walk away with some knowledge you can use. We're going to talk about attractiveness,
Oh, okay.
but not like the superficial kind you see in magazines, all airbrushed and whatnot.
Yeah.
We're going to dig a bit deeper here. We're going to peel back the layers and see how being attractive, how that's seen, changes as the guy gets older.
Interesting. It's like there's that saying, "Youth is wasted on the young," right?
Right.
But we're talking about how a man's, well, how desirable he is can actually get better over time.
Exactly. Like, think about a good wine
Ah.
or a
Yeah.
classic muscle car.
Yeah.
We get better with age.
I like that analogy.
And this isn't just, some bro science thing we tell ourselves.
Right.
There's actually logic behind it, even data.
Oh, absolutely. It all begins with understanding, well, the playing field, I guess you could say. Let's be real. Dating. It's like this crazy market where everyone's trying to figure out what they're worth, where they fit in.
Exactly. It's like, am I blue chip stock
Yeah.
or am I stuck down there with the penny stocks?
Yeah. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
This market, it doesn't play by the same rules as Wall Street. It's got its own weird, sometimes frustrating set of rules.
Totally agree with you there.
And one of the biggest things driving this whole dating market, if you want to call it that, are those biological clocks.
Right.
Now, before anyone gets all riled up, let me be clear. We're not talking about some old-fashioned sexist idea here.
Of course not.
We're just saying that, well, Mother Nature has different timelines for men and women.
Yeah, it's true. And honestly, it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, women, they kind of hit their peak attractiveness, at least from a purely biological standpoint, a lot earlier than men do. Their early 20s, it's like that's their prime time, fertility-wise.
And nature, being all about efficiency, programmed men to be drawn to that. You know, keep the species going and all that.
Right. It's all instinctual. I mean, look at guys like George Clooney, even Mick Jagger. They're like walking proof that a man's biological clock is a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, men have a much longer window of opportunity, let's just say. But that early peak for women, it creates this interesting situation in the dating world.
Go on.
A woman in her early 20s, she's often at her most attractive, but a lot of guys her age, they're still figuring things out, haven't really hit their stride yet.
It's like showing up to a poker game with a royal flush, and everyone else is still learning how to deal the cards.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, my early 20s, man, that was a masterclass in dating awkwardness.
A lot of guys go through that. But that difference in timing, it causes a mismatch. Women in their early 20s, they often have way more options when it comes to partners, while guys in that same age group, well, it's a tougher climb for them.
Like trying to get a date at a Taylor Swift concert. Good luck, buddy. But here's the kicker, guys. The game doesn't stay the same forever.
Nope, it changes. And that's where things get really interesting, especially for us guys. As we get older, as we get more experience, build our careers, and figure out, how to dress ourselves properly, we actually become more appealing.
It's like our value goes up while some others might be hitting a ceiling. And there's this point somewhere around the mid-30s where those paths cross.
That intersection, people often call it the marriage zone.
Marriage zone.
It's not because every guy suddenly decides he needs to buy a ring when he hits 35.
Right.
But the whole dating scene shifts.
Yeah.
Settling down starts looking pretty good for both men and women.
Okay, I see. So for women, it might be a feeling of, my options are still great, but I'm looking for something stable long-term. And for guys, it's like, hey, I'm on a roll here, feeling good, got things going on, let's make it official.
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's not that everyone suddenly gets married at 35, but there's a reason why the late 20s and early 30s are prime time for tying the knot.
Yeah, it's like all the pieces finally fall into place. But what about those guys who aren't ready to settle down yet? The guys who are still out there hustling, building their own empires, and let's be honest, enjoying the ride.
Well, those guys, they're in luck because a man's appeal, it keeps going up. A lot of men, they hit their peak attractiveness in their late 30s and 40s.
So it's not all bad for the guys who are playing the long game.
Not at all. In fact, men who focus on building themselves up, their careers, finances, taking care of themselves, they often find themselves in a really good spot later on.
So the takeaway here is, don't freak out if you're not exactly like the most sought-after guy in your early 20s. Patience, guys. Patience is key.
Exactly. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Because as we'll talk about next, attractiveness for a man, it's not just about biology. It's about the whole package, confidence, ambition, and those things you only get with experience and wisdom. All right, gentlemen, so we were talking about how a man's attractiveness, it's not like set in stone.
Right. It changes over time. We were getting to the whole biological clock thing,
Yeah.
how for guys, being patient can actually work in your favor.
Exactly. But it's not just about sitting around waiting for father time to do his thing.
Right.
There are things men can do to actually make themselves more attractive, boost their appeal, so to speak.
Okay, I like this.
Yeah.
Let's get specific here. What can guys actually do to step up their game? I bet a lot of guys listening are thinking, okay, I get the whole aging like fine wine thing, but how do I actually become that vintage everyone wants?
Well, first off, you got to build a solid foundation.
Foundation, okay.
And I'm not just talking about hitting the gym every day, though, yeah, being in shape is part of it.
Sure.
I'm talking about creating a life that's interesting, that's got depth.
So, like, becoming the kind of guy who walks into a room and people notice.
You got it.
The guy who's got his act together, passionate about something, has that quiet confidence.
Exactly. Think about it. Women, they're attracted to men who have strength, who are competent, ambitious.
That makes sense.
These things show a man can provide, protect, lead.
Hmm.
It's not about being some alpha male stereotype.
Right.
It's about having your life in order, knowing what you want, and going after it.
So step one, level up your life.
Right.
Find a career you're excited about, get in some hobbies, learn to cook a decent meal, become the best version of yourself.
Exactly. For yourself and, yeah, for the ladies, too.
Right.
It's about investing in yourself, becoming the kind of guy you'd want to hang out with, and that kind of energy, it's magnetic.
There's that saying, be the person you needed when you were younger.
Yeah, I like that.
But here it's more like, be the man you'd want to date if you were a woman.
Exactly. And along with that solid foundation, social skills are super important.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Being able to hold a conversation, listen, make people feel comfortable. Those are golden in the dating world.
Right. Nobody wants to date a guy who can't talk or just goes on and on about himself the whole time. It's about being charming, witty, engaging.
Yeah, being the guy people enjoy being around.
Exactly.
And it's not about being some slick pickup artist.
Right.
It's about a genuine connection, being able to relate to people on a human level.
Right.
And that takes practice, putting yourself out there, getting out of your comfort zone.
So we've got self-improvement, social skills. What about the big one? The thing guys often stress about.
What's that?
Looks. Let's be honest. Being physically attracted to someone, it matters.
It does, but it's not all about having the perfect jawline or six-pack abs.
Okay, so good grooming,
Yeah.
style, dressing well.
Yeah, all of that. It's about projecting an image of health, vitality, confidence.
Right.
It's about ditching the cargo shorts and getting clothes that actually fit.
Man, it's amazing what a good suit or a nice shirt can do for a guy's look.
Totally agree. It's like a visual signal that says, I've got it together.
Exactly. And it's not about looking like a model. It's about putting in the effort, paying attention to the details.
And don't forget about grooming. Good haircut, clean shave, taking care of your skin. Those things show you take pride in yourself.
True. Because even Brad Pitt with a bad haircut and a scraggly beard.
Yeah, he's not going to have it easy.
Right. It's about, like, taking care of the basics. But let's be real. Looks can only get you so far. What about the stuff on the inside? The stuff that makes a man truly attractive?
Well, your mental and emotional health, those are crucial.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Taking care of your mind, managing stress, having a positive attitude.
Yeah.
Those things all contribute to how attractive you are.
Because honestly, nobody wants to be around someone who's always negative or stressed out.
It's draining.
It's draining, it's unattractive, like trying to date Eeyore. No thanks, I'd rather hang out with Tigger. And I think that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, the thing that I think trumps everything else. Being genuine.
Absolutely. Being yourself, being real, that's what really makes a man stand out. Trying to be someone you're not, it's exhausting, and people can see right through it.
It's like wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Eventually, you just want to rip it off.
Right.
And besides, women can tell when a man is being real, when he's comfortable with who he is.
Exactly. Trying too hard, pretending to be someone you're not, it'll backfire.
So be yourself, be confident.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to let your well, let your personality shine through.
As long as a reasonably good personality.
Yeah, of course.
But seriously, being genuine is key.
Absolutely.
And remember, confidence is attractive.
Yeah.
Not arrogance, but that quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth, living a life that's true to you.
All right, so we've covered a lot. We've talked about how a man's appeal can get better over time and given some tips on how to improve it. But before we wrap up, I want to get into how all of this actually plays out in the real world. Like, how does understanding this whole dating market thing actually help guys in their everyday lives? Let's get into that. Okay, so we've laid out how a guy's appeal can actually go up over time, and we've given some pointers on how to make that happen. But how does this actually play out in real life? How does knowing about this dating market stuff actually help guys day to day?
Well, it's kind of like this. If you know the rules of the game, even if nobody talks about them, it gives you an advantage. You start seeing things you might have missed before.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Give some examples. What kind of things you talk about?
Okay, take the whole older guy, younger woman thing. It's like everywhere.
Oh, yeah, classic.
Movies to like the coffee shop down the street. People usually just say, oh, men are just,
Right.
But it often lines up with what we've been talking about.
Like their timelines syncing up. Women at their peak early on, guys hitting their stride in their 30s and 40s.
Exactly. She's at her most vibrant. He's finally got his act together. There's a natural attraction there.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's not always that simple, of course. But the dynamic's definitely there.
And on the flip side, a guy who felt overlooked in his 20s, maybe he was busy with his career or just hadn't found himself yet, suddenly things start clicking when he's older.
He's got that experience, the confidence, that I've been through it kind of vibe. It's definitely attractive.
Yeah, it's like the whole game changes, and he's the one in control now. But knowing all this, it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, don't you think?
How so?
Well, once you see this pattern, it's hard to unsee it. Like you start overthinking every interaction, wondering if it's real or just about, this whole market value thing. It kind of takes away from the romance,
Yeah, I see your point. It's important to remember this is just one way to look at dating. It's not everything.
Right.
Real connection, shared values, having a good laugh together, those things are way more important in the long run.
Absolutely. We're not saying guys should turn into like these calculating dating machines.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding how things work, being more aware, maybe even finding a little humor in it all.
Exactly. And remember, every person, every relationship, it's unique. This market stuff, it's just one factor, not a guarantee.
So to wrap things up for our listeners, what's the big takeaway here? What should guys keep in mind as they're navigating this whole dating world?
Focus on building a life you're really proud of. A life that's fulfilling, that's exciting, something that means something to you. Invest in yourself, your skills, your passions, your well-being.
So basically, become the best version of yourself and the rest will fall into place.
That's the idea. When you're confident, secure in who you are, it shows. You become more attractive not just for dating, but in everything you do.
That's awesome advice. Focus on building a life you love and the right people will come into it. And even if you don't find the one right away, at least you're living a life that's really living.
Exactly. Dating, it's just one part of life. An important part, sure, but not the whole story.
All right, fellas, that wraps up our look at the dating market. Hope you found it interesting, got you thinking, maybe even laughed a little along the way. Remember, this is just one way of looking at things. Your journey is your own. Keep working on yourselves, keep playing the game, and most importantly, keep being awesome.